A very bad day for me so far.
Oh, yeah?
This is not, I want to get a couple of things off my chest, and it's not really going to be anything in the audience, but it's kind of where I am right now, and so it's probably an awful way to start a show, but it's just so I can get it over with, and we can move on and have some fun, whatever. A lot of people were hitting me up about Rick.
Yeah.
Because we've got no info about Rick, and Rick, who was a longtime regular caller to this show, we hadn't heard from him in some time, and so people were. Bill found an obituary of someone. Again, we didn't know a whole lot about Rick.
No,
we kept it professional, right? And I couldn't help but think about this. Maybe when we have regular callers, I should go, hey. Give me your phone number,
yes,
your next of kin or something. Yes, because this has happened a couple of times over the course of my career. More times than I care to think, actually. And so we're really left with not knowing if Rick is dead. I think it's probably safe to assume that he is. I can't help but think that he would have called by now. If he would have heard us. I listened all the time. He would have heard and said, hey, I'm out here, whatever. So the message that I sent to someone that we think is his daughter has gone unanswered. And I've really been keeping an eye on it. And so my plan is that I'm going to go to this service tomorrow morning based on the obituary that we found and find out if the deceased is Rick, which is going to be strange, but I'll figure out a way to do it. Facebook is no good if it can't keep you in touch with people and find out what's going on, I found out that a very, very good friend of mine died last year. And I'm upset with myself because I didn't I don't know how any of it happened. This is a very, very good friend of mine who we would go long stretches without talking. But that was kind of her way. She could be very morose and sullen sometimes. She was one of the first friends that I made when I moved to Pittsburgh. I moved to Pittsburgh in very early 1999, and I had only been there for a few months, and I'm doing appearances and things. And she was a student at University of Pittsburgh, and so we became fast friends. She was a few years younger than me. I think she was 44 when she passed last year. But I didn't know any of this. I would text her on her birthday, which was last month, and I didn't hear anything from her. And she didn't text me on my birthday last summer, which, again, these aren't things that I necessarily thought about all that much because there would be long stretches of time that we would not talk to each other. And so I had just been thinking about her a lot recently. And I had a dream about it the other night. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that can coincidentally affect your psychic energy or whatever. And so I went on Facebook and I went to her page and I said, hey, and again, no indication on her. She was on Facebook about as often as I am, which is next to never. So I went to her page and there was nothing out of the ordinary there. And I said, hey, I sent her a message. I go, hey, I don't know if you're on here very often, but I've been thinking about you and hit me up. And I didn't hear anything back from her. And so I went on LinkedIn because I thought, well, maybe she's not on Twitter, she's not on Instagram, none of that stuff. And, back in the day when we first became friends, she was like a forensic, what do you call them? She was a forensic accountant for Alcoa, which is a huge, isn't that who Grammy used to work for?
Yeah, that's where she worked.
So they're based out of Pittsburgh. My firm was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and Penn Hills to be precise for our Pittsburgh listeners. And she was a forensic accountant. And about a year before I left to go back home to Chicago, probably around 04, 05, she started kind of dabbling in drugs. And she was lovely and brilliant and all this, but she kind of felt the pull of something. And so my keeping in touch with her in the time that I was back at home and in the time that I've been here in Cleveland was largely finding out, are you okay and whatever, because she had spent a lot of years struggling with that stuff and going back and forth into different treatment programs. She'd go back and forth between, I know she lived in Philly for a while, And then she remarked, again, I was on her Facebook page and I was looking at her posts, and there was one from March of last year where she said she was going back to Pittsburgh. And again, it didn't really give me much pause because we could go long periods of time without talking to each other, and then, we'd be blowing each other up and catching up with what was going on. So I couldn't find any information at all, and so I just Googled her name, and her obituary came up. And, I'm now awash in what ifs because she died in May of last year, and we don't have any mutual friends. I didn't really know her. I met her parents a handful of times, but I wouldn't know how to contact them. So I messaged one of her old roommates from 100 years ago, and I'm like, because the obituary said, died after a tragic accident. And I don't know how specific they get in obituaries, but it seems to me that if it had been vehicular, they might have said that.
And it might be a news story about it.
So I don't know if I don't know if it was an overdose. I don't know if it was a suicide. I don't know what. It seems incomprehensible to me that which I now know is true. It seems incomprehensible to me that we went 9 months without talking. So she's gone, and I didn't know it. I didn't hear anything from anybody because, again, I don't know who would tell me. But made me think of the Rick thing. We don't know anything about him, but he's important to the show as a caller and somebody we had fun with. So it's just very, very strange to me. I don't know. It's just really strange. I'm like in this fog today over this. To use a Bill Squire word, I'm gutted.
Yeah.
Don't you use that word? I'm gutted.
When I'm real sad about things.
Yeah, I'm gutted.
This is a situation where if it were me, I would absolutely be gutted.
Yeah. There's nothing I can do now. Like, I don't know. No, it's nothing I can do.
It's a pretty miserable, because also like having almost a year elapsed, that makes you feel way worse.
But now I'm like, I could have. It's all woulda, coulda, shoulda at this point. But at the very least, I would like to know what happened, and I'm hoping that I'll find out.
Maybe you could find her grave.
Well, that's what I'd like to ask someone too. I mean, I don't know if she's buried. I don't know if I know nothing. So I'm
usually don't put cause of death on the grave.
No. I'm not saying that.
You need to go visit.
I'm saying just like for some closure, like see her one last time.
I would very much like to do that. That's right. I would very much like to do that.
Cause of death. Hey, here lies so-and-so, she just couldn't lay off the pipe. Like, no, I'm not saying that.
Pancake by dump truck.
Yeah. That would be nice, though, if they gave you that information, because there are people who like going through graveyards and looking at the dates and things. There are people who have an affinity for that,
I do.
And if they told you how they died, that would make it all the more interesting. Not everybody chooses to be buried. So if you do that, you're going to have a headstone, which is kind of like a billboard for your body anyway. You want people to know where you are. Here lies so-and-so. And there's the dates. And it'd be nice if, they told you, here's what happened. Yeah. I mean, because if you find a really old grave site, it might be like some wacky old-timey way to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Got one cut.
That's right.
Done for.
Organ grinder monkey chewed his face off. Yeah.
Diarrhea.
There's a couple of
lost a toe and bled out.
It was serious back then.
That's right.
There's a couple of graveyards around here. One being like up the road here, right on in like Rock
across the street. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just find that odd that people. I don't know if they're still buried there, but I just can't think about someone going there to mourn as there's like a bunch of rush hour traffic next to them.
Well,
and then on top of that one, or not physically on top of that one, but right downtown, that graveyard right next to Progressive Field. Like, I don't know how old that is, but that is the one that creeps me out because there's a whole city built around it, and then people are just walking through there like, oh, this is just the way I go to get to my car. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get yelled at by Craig T. Nelson, so you got to build around the cemeteries. But anyway, I wanted to purge myself of this at the top of the show because I'm just if I seem unfocused today or whatever, that's all it is. But otherwise, I'd like to have fun.
Do you want to
like
start
to be
the weekend
stupid
early?
Today? Can we start the weekend right now?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah. So anyway, it's worst because I just don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any. She never provided any interaction with me in what were her last days. Which, if it is something where she was just feeling awful and couldn't keep it together.
Yeah, that's right.
There would have been something. I would have gone to see her, or I would have done anything.
Very tragic. And I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
That's,
it sucks. I don't know.
It's just one of those things that you wish, like you said, you're living in the would-have, could-haves, but there's nothing you can do. And to find out that way, and it's really upsetting, and I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Man.
So we'll see.
When I die, I'll make sure everybody knows.
Hey, thank you. That's all we ask. Yeah. Let me take a break. We'll collect ourselves, and I'll have $1,000 for you. You can collect that. Coming up at 2:30, next chance to grab one of those keywords and grab $1,000. 35192 if you want to text the show in a break, and we'll be back.
It's the Alan Cox Show.